All right. So shifting gears, right, into the insurance industry deep state topic. Okay. So let's start this. Let's talk about where. So I want to kind of start at the beginning a little bit by first defining for the audience what is what would we consider the deep state in the insurance industry?
Well,
Just
let's
assuming that you
start.
missed yesterday's episode.
Yeah. Well, let's start with what is the deep state? Because that term alone, some people might be like, what is that? Like, what are you saying? Right? Like, so the deep state is this idea that there are shadowy figures, people behind the scenes who are actually running government. And the deep state, this could be international deep state, this could be United States deep state. This term is applicable all over. But the idea is that there are puppeteers, people behind the scenes who are making the real decisions, and that really the political figures here in the US or abroad are essentially just frontmen. They're just the spokesperson, and that they're not actually the ones making the decisions, right? Whether you believe that or not, that's just the definition of what the deep state is that there are people deep inside the government that we don't even know who their names are, and they're the ones actually making the decisions. Funny enough, I'll mention this really fast too. Patrick Bet David, who is
PBD.
PBD, who's he's got his own podcast. I saw an interview with him about this specific topic. Shout out to our fellow partner there. He was talking about the deep state, and he named names. And guess, do you know who he named as being in charge behind the scenes?
Like individual people?
I think he named a specific person, but I'll give you points for the entity or the person. Double points for the person. Because
I've watched a lot of PBD over the years. Heard him talk about this a lot. I mean, I'm at a loss in terms of actual names that he would actually throw out there, but I would obviously think CIA, FBI organizations. There's a lot of people that think we're gonna get really canceled if I keep going, but like Mossad having influence on our government, right?
So I'll stop you there before this gets in, before your guessing goes off. He was saying BlackRock and the CE. He's like,
yes, I do remember him talking about
his whole thing. I thought this was really interesting, and he's like, you want to know who the president of the United States is? He's like, it's the CEO of BlackRock. He's like, they are a multi-trillion-dollar company. They have, they own. The stats he dropped were just crazy. I can't even remember them off the top of my head. But again, just an example of like somebody's theory of that there is someone outside of the government who's able to make decisions just based on the power that they have. So
if I remember right, there's 3 financial organizations he mentions and kind of drops some statistics that somewhere along the lines of like 75% or more of all lending that goes on in the country is specifically tied to one of these 3 organizations. I think Fidelity was one, BlackRock was one. I can't remember the third one, but yeah, I remember this video. So yeah, I mean that there's certainly a lot of that. I mean, you control the United States economy at that point.
You have control internationally at that point. I mean, they have ownership and things. So you have this consolidation of power, and this is a great segue into the insurance deep state, because this essentially it's private equity, it's hedge funds, right? So you have this company who has essentially swallowed up so many little companies, right? A company like BlackRock has ownership and assets in all of these different. There's probably insurance entities tied to BlackRock. I'd probably guarantee it, right?
Totally.
Yeah. So these hedge funds who have a board of directors and they have executive leadership, they're essentially the ones pulling the strings, right? Making really big decisions, and then they can lobby to the government, pull favors in, and they can really make the needle move in ways that we have no idea are even possible. One of the big quote unquote conspiracy theories that has been floating around is that private equity like BlackRock has been snapping up residential housing, and that they've been causing an inflation in residential housing prices, seeing that go up. So, but this concept of private equity and hedge funds making big decisions and moving the needle behind the scenes, that's where the insurance deep state comes into this whole conversation. The old guard, right? It's all part of this same conversation to really expand on what started yesterday. This is a bit, I think we just went like another layer deeper. Like the old guard was like the surface of this conversation. Now we're like at kind of the core of it, and it feels a little spooky almost. Are you a little scared? Are you nervous?
A little
I
bit,
think you're nervous.
The other day, I put a sheet over my head and walked out of my pantry to my daughter, who was sitting at the counter and eating breakfast, and I went, "Whoa!" and she started to scream. That's basically me right now, my daughter. Her reaction is my reaction right about now. Okay, so
man.
Expanding on this, right? So yesterday, just to kind of catch up anybody that might have not caught yesterday's episode. Yesterday, we spent a lot of time talking about the old guard, like Glenn said. And the old guard can best be thought of as organizations that have been in this industry for multiple decades, in many ways might have even shaped the way the industry actually looks today in things that they might have done in years past. And I think a phrase I used yesterday was just over the compounding effect of time. They have grown to be substantially big companies. There are some companies, you could say FMOs in particular, because these are the ones that agents see up close and personal, that I don't think they do a damn thing, but they've been around so long, they have 10,000 agents contracted under them that just don't bother to change, but they literally do nothing, it seems like. These FMOs, like they're big contracting house, and they house people's contracts. It's like, okay, what did they do? They don't know. You don't know. Nobody knows. But that's like the surface level. When we're talking about, and I would consider some of these people as part of the deep state. I 100% would, people that are in the old guard. But then you have another layer to it where you have private equity companies, mysterious private equity companies and figures that start private equity companies, fund private equity companies that come in and acquire members of the old guard. And through that combination of influence, we see strings get pulled and massive influence be kind of, leveraged and flexed across the industry. And yeah, I think there's a lot of people that might be really in control over people in the old guard these days that none of you ever see. None of you ever know about, none of you ever see, none of you know who they are. And so,
and we're not, I want to clarify too, is like we have some insight into this, but I think this is probably much deeper and bigger than we even really know, right? I mean, there's probably people that we've never heard of, we've never met. Christian and I collectively have over 20 years of experience in the industry and networking and talking to agents and agency owners and FMOs and IMOs and call centers every single day. So we have a lot of experience, but this is a very, very deep black hole. And I don't know where it ends. I don't know how many, entities are involved, but there's definitely been a consolidation of power. We've witnessed it publicly. We've all witnessed the consolidation of power. The old guard in a lot of ways getting bought, and all of a sudden there's less and less. And so with that consolidation of power, that means there's fewer people in charge of more revenue, right? I mean, again, very akin to BlackRock, right? To these giant hedge funds that are controlling the world. We're seeing that on a smaller scale in our industry.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yes, on yesterday's show, I talked about not even necessarily a feeling that I have, because I don't even think that's an accurate way to articulate it. I think it's not a feeling, it's something that I know that I'm being watched all the time. And I'm not paranoid, I'm not crazy. For those of you that are watching, maybe a little bit, but
you've got the red strings. You're like, this FMO is tied to this and this. You just like pictures everywhere. It's like, Christian, it's okay. They're listening.
But no,
they're listening.
I know for a fact that there's organizations that you could categorize, putting into kind of these categories, that literally watch everything I say, everything I do, everything I write, everything I say on a video, everything I post about, under a microscope. Because they, when I do have conversations with the people, when they reach out to me, they seem to be experts. It's almost like they know more about what I'm saying or doing than I do. You know, they're like on June 12th at 8:32 a.m. Pacific Standard Time and 26 seconds, you said this. And I'm like, I did? I'm like, what? Like, it's a real thing. And I've been quiet about it for a long time, but kind of what inspired me to bring it up on the show yesterday was, you know, I wanted to kind of put it out there and expose a little bit, the surface level of what I could share on that experience, because it makes you wonder in terms of what is the purpose of that, right? Is it that the old guard has been acquired, and as we talked about yesterday, they are at this point risk intolerant. Nothing can be risky. Nothing can be dangerous. Nothing can be scary, in any regard. And so as a result of that, and also, they get acquired through private equity, and they have like nothing better to do than to assign somebody to spy on me all day. Like, what does this actually look like? And again, I said this on yesterday's show. It's not just about me. I have no doubt they do it to you too, my friend.
Yeah.
It just might not come to light as much, right? You might not be having as many conversations as I am, about these types of things. But like, so the old guard gets acquired. It's almost like this kind of melting pot, if you will, of the deep state. How many people have we known that are part of the old guard that have been in this business for a long time? They get acquired, and all of a sudden they're moving up the ranks within a private equity company that acquires them. Multiple organizations that I can think of examples.
Tune changes, right? They become yes men. They fall into the corporate lockstep, right? They're all singing the same tune up at the top.
Mm-hmm.
And the scary part is I think the average agent, they don't see past the entity at the old guard. They don't see past that person that was the face of the old guard company for the past several decades. They're still looking up to that person and thinking they're the same person, that nothing's changed.